Roman Bridger, director.
And I'm Jennifer Jolie. Welcome to Sunset Studios. We're just kidding. This is the Morgue. I'm Mal.
And I'm Hannah.
And welcome back, y'all. How are you doing today, Hannah?
I am exhausted.
Yeah, no, I feel that. But, I got pumped up on the way over here listening to What If by Creed.
I'm excited for this one.
Oh, man.
This is a good one.
This is by far, in the original trilogy, this is my favorite sequel. Hands down, 100%. I probably said in the last episode that the second one was my favorite. But after rewatching this again...
You've always said the third was your favorite from when we started the series.
The third one, and I know I'll probably get a lot of flack for saying that, but, come on. If you're just judging it on whenever you saw it 10 years ago, don't judge it off of that. Watch it right now, come back, listen to the podcast, and you'll have a completely different thought process. Because, man, they changed that shit up, and I loved it.
Also, so many people hate Scream 3, but my first time watching it, I really liked it. I liked it a lot better than number 2.
And honestly, in my opinion, with number 2, it was a lot more, some of the things were, a lot more obvious. You could guess a lot of things. For example...
Oh, you can't guess shit in number 3.
Exactly. And for example, Mickey being the killer in the second one. Spoiler alert if you haven't listened to the last episode or watched the movie.
I guessed that, he was on my list as soon as we started the movie.
Right, and on top of that, the lunch scene, after that, the man goes completely missing. So it's
Right.
Who's the most obvious one? Now, Debbie Salt, okay, I can understand not guessing that. But Mickey, come on now. But then there's, the original one. And the original one just changed the fucking game. So, that one does not compare to the third one. The third one. Ugh.
The third one, who the killer is, that wouldn't have even
Crossed
been
your
on
mind.
my list at all.
I remember being younger and watching this and being wait, what? Whenever it's revealed, I'm wait, what? Which, don't get me wrong, the reveal is a little meh, in my opinion. They could have done better. But it's the person behind the mask.
I didn't think of either of them on my list.
I believe it. I totally believe it. And so, but before we get started, I do want to do a couple announcements. The first one is we are still having our giveaway on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be going on until September 12th. We are giving away some keychains, some cute little horror-themed keychains. On Facebook, it is The Nun. And then we have Jason from Friday the 13th. And then remind me what's on the Instagram page?
On the Instagram page, we have Pennywise and
the Nun is on Instagram. Okay, so... I know which one it was. So, Facebook was Jason and Billy from Saw. That's what it was.
Yes, that's... Because that one was newer.
Yes, and so the reason why we did those is, first of all, okay, Jason, everybody loves Jason. Pennywise, everyone loves Pennywise. But then there is a new Nun movie coming out, and then there is also a new Saw movie coming out. So I thought... people would maybe want those. And so another thing that we're having is our subscriptions. Those are going to be coming soon. We're not really 100% sure when those will be coming, but it will be in the near future, I promise. So Scream 3 is a 2000 horror movie written by Aaron Kruger and Kevin Williamson and directed by none other than Wes Craven himself. Before the film even started production, the Columbine shooting occurred, which if you don't know, that was one of the biggest school shootings of its time. And it was really sad, and it just really startled a lot of people. And that was back in the time when school shootings were not nearly as common as they are now.
Sadly.
Unfortunately. And so after that incident, many parties started looking for a motive behind the shooter's actions, and then that's when there was an increased scrutiny of the role in media in society, including video games and film. And so there were talks that possibly Scream 3 ultimately wouldn't even be made due to all the possible scrutiny, but the studio did decide to move forward, but they did have to make some serious changes to the script and everything. And so the studio became very apprehensive very apprehensive to have so much on-screen violence and gore that at one point they even tried to demand that the film feature no blood or on-screen violence. But our boy Wes Craven intervened very quickly, and the rest is history.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
Also, I forgot to mention this in the last episode because I forgot my notes. But Wes Craven also cameoed in number 2.
Yes.
Did we mention that?
No.
Okay, well, he was in the hospital scene in number
Yes.
2. Did he cameo in this one?
He cameos in this one. Whenever we get to it, I'll tell you when it is.
Okay, perfect.
And so as for the script, that is a whole other story. The nasty-ass Weinstein brothers came to Kevin Williamson in early 1999 to pursue a full script for Scream 3. But Williamson was so busy working on other projects like his TV series Wasteland and the filming of Teaching Miss Tingle. So instead, he wrote 20 to 30 page draft outline for the movie, and the nasty-ass Weinstein brothers hired Aaron Kruger to replace Williamson, and he made the script based on Williamson's outline. And due to Aaron Kruger's rewrite, this pisses me off. Matthew Lillard's character Stu was completely taken out of the script. Originally, Stu was supposed to have survived the first one, spending years in prison, and he was going to be the mastermind behind all of these, like, murders and stuff. Like, he was going to be, in a way, kind of how they did with this movie a little bit, like, direct people to commit certain crimes and stuff.
I'm so mad because I wanted Stu back.
But also, that gives me hope that Stu didn't die. Because if you've seen the 6th one, I'm not necessarily giving anything away, but in the 6th one, somebody's head is smashed by the same TV. The TV comes back, bro. Smashed by the same TV, and that motherfucker lived. So, like, why?
So who's to say
that
Stu died?
That Stu is dead, because he's not. And so, unfortunately, because of that rewrite, we did not get that. And it just makes me upset. And also, I just want to note that the reason why Sidney was so, less present in this movie was because she was busy filming other projects, so she was only available for 3 weeks of the 9-week schedule. Like, damn.
Wow. Scream 3 stars David Arquette as Dewey, Courtney Cox as Gale, Neve Campbell as Sidney, Scott Foley as Roman, Parker Posey as Jennifer, Emily Mortimer as Angelina, Matt Kessler as Tom, Patrick Dempsey as Detective Mark, and Liev Schreiber as Cotton.
Oh, that just reminded me. Okay, whenever we get done with, this background information, we have something special for y'all. So just wait.
Very special. Scream 3 released in the United States on February 4th, 2000 with a budget of $40 million. It had an opening weekend box office of $34.7 million and a gross worldwide of $161.8 million.
Damn.
Wow. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 56 minutes, or 116 minutes if you're weird. The IMDb rating was 5.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 41% tomato meter and 38% audience score. And Letterboxd, it was a 2.8 out of 5.
Alrighty, before we get started, we have a special little segment for y'all. This is the Diss and Defend of Cotton Weary. Are you guys ready?
Buckle up.
Buckle up, buckaroos. So this is called In the Defense of Cotton Weary. Yeah, listen up, gather around, let me lay it out clear. Defending Cotton Weary, need no fear. In the Scream franchise, he's the one they blame. But I'm here to drop the truth and change the game. Cotton Weary, a name that's been dragged. But let's not forget, evidence can be snagged. Innocent until proven guilty. That's the code. Gotta question the facts. Let the real story unfold. He was accused of a crime so grim. But let's deep dive, see what's truly within. A media frenzy, a twisted tale. Could it be the real killer left a trail? Innocent man caught in the spotlight's glare, facing suspicion, it's not just fair. Pointing fingers in judgment cast, let's break it down, analyze the past. A frame-up job, a reporter's quest, Cotton Weary's innocence put to the test. A pawn in a game, with motives unknown, let's dig for the truth. let it be shown. Ghostface lurking, a sinister force. Cotton Weary's story might take a different course. A scapegoat's chosen, but we must see if there's more to the story, if he's truly free. So here's the defense, the real deal. Cotton Weary's side, let's all feel. In the Scream franchise, twists abound, but let's give this man the justice he's found. Innocence or guilt, the truth is the key. Let's unravel the mystery, set it all free. Cotton Weary's name, let's reclaim. In this freestyle rap, defending his name. Boom!
I'm going with my OG because I made it up myself. I'm going to need you to
I can say, AI did help me with that a little bit because I'm not very creative.
That
yes,
sounds like cutting a little bit.
It was a little bit.
Okay, y'all, this one comes from the heart. I made this one up myself. No help. Cotton Weary is so dreary, yet you think he fine. His hairline flat, his forehead big, he look like Mega Mine. Sidney put him up and stuff, but that don't mean she lying. He still smelling fishy, get a whiff of him, you crying. Cotton Weary is so lame, he only want 10 minutes of fame. Sidney already know his name, cause she think her mom he maim. Yeah, he free, but so will we be when he finally dies. So Cotton Weary, all I'll say is good day and goodbye.
And so that was the defense and the diss of Cotton Weary.
We will have a poll under this episode. Vote for which one you think won.
I already know mine is going to lose. You had a beat and everything. I just can't do anything to a beat.
Okay, but yours was longer and more poetic.
Yeah, mine was more or less, I want to do mine as like a spoken word because I just can't.
Yours covered everything. Mine was just kind of an attack against his appearance.
His appearance and his character.
Hey, go vote for the diss.
Go vote for the diss, bro. So, the movie opens up, and it's a helicopter shot of the Hollywood sign, and it's showing the freeway in bumper-to-bumper traffic, which that was like 5 fucking lanes. Imagine having to drive home in that kind of traffic.
I would
off myself. Like,
die.
I would off myself in traffic.
I'd be like, Ghostface, come get me.
Exactly.
I don't care.
And so, Cotton Weary, my motherfucking boy, is in traffic, talking on his car phone, very early 2000s, and he's talking about the cameo in a movie and how cheap and shitty the movie is, which we come to find out is Stab 3. His cell phone rings, and it's a woman who thinks that she has the wrong number, and she asks if that's Cotton Weary, and that he has such a sexy voice. Cotton flirts a little, but also, who the fuck names a show 100% Cotton?
That's just, I should have put that in my diss.
You should have.
But there was just, that's just like, I don't even want to say that.
100% Cotton.
No.
He's like, are you a 100% Cotton fan? I'm sorry, what? I like my t-shirts 100% Cotton, sir. Like,
but that's it.
But that's it. I don't want to watch some shitty daytime television
where you get your 10 minutes of fame.
Exactly. And so Cotton asks who she is, and the caller ends up calling him a very naughty boy. And what would his girlfriend think of this conversation? Cotton asks what makes her think that he has a girlfriend, and the voice switches, and it's motherfucking Ghostface. Ghosty is at Cotton's... Ghosty! Ghosty is at Cotton's house stalking his girlfriend Christine while she's in the shower. Ghosty wants to play a little game with Cotton, and if he answers right, Christine lives, and if he answers wrong, she dies. Very simple. The question is, where is Sidney Prescott? And so... Cotton is not playing fucking games with this dude, and he is like, you're a fucking psycho! And the killer is like, okay, that means it's time to kill Christine. And so Cotton gets off the freeway, and he's driving like a fucking maniac.
Okay, hold on. I don't know why, sometimes people who know someone's about to die, they decide to just insult the killer like that's gonna change their mind.
Literally.
Pretend you're confident in an answer, and they would at least have to check it out. Maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe?
Exactly. I would just be like, she's back in Woodsboro.
If they're psychotic saying, this isn't you. You're a jerk. You're a horrible person. Like, that's not going to
That's just going to piss them off.
their mind.
That's literally just going to piss them off and make them want to
laugh.
Or make them laugh, exactly. But it's going to make them, like, kill the person that they're threatening to kill. Like,
right, like, at least give a guess, Cotton. Another reason why I hate Cotton.
So Cotton gets off the freeway, and he's driving like a fucking maniac. And meanwhile, Christine gets out of the shower, and we see that the phone line has been cut. He's been trying to call her, and she hasn't been answering. When Christine gets dressed, What If by Creed starts playing, and Chris thinks it's Cotton, and she's calling out to him. And she turns off the music, and it's like, and then the music cuts.
Sorry, every time you say, what if, I think of, did I?
Did I? So she turns off the music, and is like, I don't like your stab games, which, bitch, yo boyfriend be playing stab games with you? I'm sorry, what? Is that a sexual thing? I'm confused.
Another reason why I hate Cotton.
I'm confusion. And so someone comes in, she hears someone come in, but she can't see them. But it sounds like Cotton. But suddenly, Ghosty pops out instead and attacks Christine. And she gets one kick to the face to him. Like, she kicks him in the face one time. And she runs off and locks herself into an office. The person on the other side that sounds like Cotton says that he wants to take the game to the next level. And the game is where he rips her insides out. Yikes. That doesn't sound like a very fun game. And so Cotton screeches home, which I want to point out. His car screeched, was like, skirt. I want to point out that right here, it actually, I saw a video, which I will put it in the notes down below. It was a completely different opening scene at first. So everything leading up to here, whenever he gets home and like runs up the stairs and everything, I watched a version where it was the complete, like, it was the original one, and it was awful. It was so bad. He goes home, and basically Ghosty's, like, toying with him on the phone and sounds like Christine, but actually she's, like, dead in the closet, and then Ghosty basically just, like, comes through the open front door and stabs Cotton to death. But then, like, spoiler alert, Cotton dies. Whenever Cotton dies, it's like the same like version. Like both versions have the same death scene.
I also read that in the first draft of this script that Randy had survived.
I wish.
I know.
I wish. I loved
needed
Randy.
him.
I loved Randy so much. After Cotton gets home, he sees that their apartment door is open, and he calls out to Chris, and he can't find her anywhere. But meanwhile, his stupid-ass TV show is on the TV, and we hear movement, and Cotton gets serious. He puts on his serious face and takes off his jacket and gets a fire poker to protect himself. And he wanders down the hallway looking buff as hell in that white t-shirt. Like, Liev Schreiber, you cannot deny that the man is fine as hell. Like, Hannah's over here, like, shaking her head.
His hairline
he is
flat,
so
his
fine.
big.
You
He
can
looked
stop
like
with that.
mine.
But he sees stab marks in one of the doors, and he tries to go in, but it's locked. And his strong ass busts through the door. Damn. And Chris ends up attacking him, and she thinks that he was the one who was trying to kill her. And he gets a golf club to the fucking head. Meanwhile, she gets stibbity stabbed in the back by Ghosty and ends up dead on the floor. And Cotton, he puts up a little bit of a fight, but unfortunately, he gets a knife to the chest. R.I.P. to my mans. He deserves so much better. He went through...
Finally!
No, he went through some shit. Like, the whole first movie, he was in prison because Sidney wrongly accused him of killing her mom. In the second movie, all he's trying to do is get his little 15 minutes of fame, but he's also being framed as the killer, too.
I will say, first movie, yes, I felt for him. He was struggling. But then, after that,
Can you not blame him for wanting his 15 minutes of fame?
I do blame him. He should have gone and lived his quiet life.
No.
And gone, and just gone.
I see where he's coming from. Because he was put through a lot of shit, having to stay in prison because Sidney wronged him.
So I just want to get out and never talk.
The least that Sidney could do was have an interview with him. That's literally the least that she could do.
Yes, but 100% Cotton, that's
That's a TV
15
show.
million
I mean,
steps
shit.
too far.
I mean, shit. I'm not mad at him. And so,
I'm sorry, y'all. I just really don't like Cotton. I don't know what about him just makes me want to just... so annoying.
And also, okay, right before we get to the title card, it's like Ghostface is like stabbing at this man's forehead. Did he get stabbed in the forehead? Can someone answer that question for me? Did Cotton Weary get stabbed in the forehead? I want to know. Send us an email. Like,
Right.
I'm confusion. And so then we get the title card, Scream 3. And now we are with Sidney.
She'd be doing some therapy type shit.
She lives in seclusion in a lockdown fortress, alarms and locks everywhere. But do we blame her?
No, I would be doing that after
I would be
the
doing the
first
same
movie.
damn thing, exactly. And she works from home at a women's crisis as a women's crisis counselor, which, damn girl, like maybe you should work on your own crisis first before trying to help other people with their crises. I'm just saying.
She think it's over, poor girl.
Poor girl does think it's over. And she doesn't even use her real name, which is really sad because it's like nobody actually knows who she is, you know? We switch over to Gale and her awful bangs. We're going to take a moment.
Courtney, I still love you.
I love Courtney Cox. I really do. But damn, first of all, those bangs, you were talked into those bangs by your husband at the time. And like, first of all,
The
do not...
fact that it's Dewey cracks me up.
Literally, David Arquette. David Arquette, if you're also here listening, love you to death, but why the hell did you make this woman cut her hair trying to make it look like Betty Page when Betty Page's bangs were blunt as hell? I'm sorry, Courtney Cox, your hair is too fucking fine to have your bangs like that. They was too wispy. It looks like your child came up with her safety scissors and just sawed at it for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no.
God. And Gail is giving a speech to some college kids about journalism, and she gets pulled off to the side to speak to the police. And it's Detective Mark with fine-ass McDreamy, Patrick Dempsey. Ooh, that man just looks so yummy in this movie. Like, fuck. There are too many fine men in this movie, y'all.
Okay. They both want to rail you, him or Cotton.
Oh, Patrick Dempsey all the way. I'm sorry, like, I haven't seen enough Liev Schreiber movies to, like, really
And
just...
it's Cotton.
But, yeah, Cotton, yeah, I mean, I would still fuck them, but if I had the option to fuck both of them, I would. But, like, then there's Patrick Dempsey, Detective Mark. Shit. So Detective Mark informs her that Cotton has been murked, and he's sharing it with her because she's been through this before, and he also reveals a photo that was left behind at the crime scene, which is a pic of Maureen when she was young, which, as a reminder, Maureen was Sidney's mom, who died before the first movie.
If you didn't remember that, you're not a real one.
You are not a real one at all. And so back at Sidney's, she's watching the news and she sees that Cotton's been murdered and she's like all triggered and shit on her final girl stuff. She like freezes up and God, Cotton Weary's dead. Oh my fucking God. Like, you cannot deny that that's not how her face looked.
No, it was. I don't blame her, but it was really funny.
It was really funny, just the way
Like
that
those
her
moments,
face
we are
is.
not supposed to see those on camera. I don't blame her for having that moment, but just watching her be like, it was just funny.
Cotton Weary's dead. And so we switch over to the studio. Red Right Hand is playing, and it's the studio where Stab 3 is being filmed. There's all these news crews there, and we get a similar shot of a news anchor trying to go inside, thinking that they own the motherfucking place, and they get shut down by security, which is similar to Gail in the first one when she was trying to get into the police station, and they were like, you ain't getting in here with your green outfit.
Right.
And on the soundstage, it's literally Woodsboro. Like, they actually recreated the Woodsboro for the movie, and the movie within the movie. So none of that was originally supposed to even be there. Wes Craven was like, bruh, like, we need to put this version of Woodsboro back in. And, like, this was none of the original sets from the original movie. Like, they had to remake everything. And that's just wild to me. Imagine 2 movies later, you're like, damn, I'm gonna have to recreate this whole ass same soundstage
Right,
that
and
I did 4 years ago.
He added an extra scene later on.
Yes.
I won't say what happens, but he adds a scene later on because he just didn't want he didn't want to waste the amazing Woodsboro sets. And I love that.
No, I'm so here for it.
And it's so, like, nostalgic to the first movie that was probably also so triggering for Sidney, but it was so nostalgic. Thank you, Wes.
We meet the director, Roman, and John Milton, the producer. And then we also get a little cameo from Roger Corman, who was a highly successful low-budget exploitation film director. Roman is bitching about how he doesn't want the film to be shut down, and Milton asks the detectives if there is any reason why they should shut down the movie, and we get the line of,
"He was making a movie called Stab. He was stabbed."
And so we meet some of the actors in this movie. We have Tyson Fox, who plays Ricky, the guy that works at the video store and kind of a Randy substitute. We have Sarah Darling, who plays Candy, the chick that gets killed second and is only in 2 scenes, and also a 35-year-old playing a 21-year-old. There's Tom Prince, the man who plays Deputy Dewey after David Schwimmer dropped out. And we have Angelina Tyler. She plays Sidney after Tori Spelling dropped out, and she, quote-unquote, won. Remember that. She, quote-unquote, won the talent search to play Sidney. Gale wanders in wearing a bright-ass yellow suit. She looks like the man in the yellow hat from Curious George.
She does.
And she sets up a camera in her bag to film everything. And then we meet my girl, Jennifer Jolie, who plays Gale. And she's wearing the exact same lime green suit that Gale wore in the first movie. I absolutely love that. And Jennifer bombards Gale for a minute, and Dewey ends up walking up, and Gale is shocked, and Dewey is so rude to her, which good for him, because
I support it. Dewey standing up for himself.
Absolutely.
That's a first.
And it seems like Jennifer and Dewey have a bit of a thing, and Jennifer ends up walking away. And Dewey and Gale chit-chat a little bit, and Dewey says that he has to get back to work as the technical advisor for the movie. And Tom ends up popping by and gets a little salty about Gale's story about him crashing his car due to drinking and drugs, and that the tower blowout was fake. Lols. Tom ends up leaving, and Gale and Dewey get back to talking a little bit. And Gale thinks that she has an exclusive about the photo of Maureen that was left, but the police have already talked to Dewey about it. Gale asks if Sidney knows about it, and Dewey says that she doesn't need her and her camera in her life. And Gale asks, what camera are you talking about? But it turns out that Dewey bought that bag that Gale uses to put her camera in so she can film everything. Shake my head. The fact that she forgot that he bought that bag for her, but also, how was she supposed to know he was gonna be there?
Right, and the fact that he did buy that bag for her is hilarious.
Yeah, that's hilarious. He was like, oh baby, I'll make sure you're able to film everything. And so Gale ends up getting kicked out, and we get a cameo. We actually get 2 cameos right here. The first cameo is of Wes Craven. He plays one of the people on the, backlot tour of the studio. And then we get another one, and it's Jay and Silent Bob, which are 2 characters from Kevin Smith's View Askew-niverse, a fictional universe created and used in most of the projects written and produced by Smith. And these projects include Clerks 1, 2, and 3, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, and Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. Just a little fun fact about that. Those are really fun movies. I have no idea
what any of those were.
Those are really fun movies. I've seen Clerks 1 and 2, and they're fun. You know, just little movies. And so back at Sidney's, her dad brought her some groceries and they're discussing Cotton's murder. And they get on the topic of her mom. And Sidney says that none of this would have happened if she hadn't. And she like can't say what it is that she wanted to say. But I think if she would have finished this sentence, it would have been if she hadn't been either unfaithful or if she hadn't slept around. I was going to put if she wasn't a whore, but I didn't want to go that hard on Maureen. So like... It's sad.
Right.
But anyway.
But I feel like Sidney, if she was going to say something, she would have said that. Because I feel like she's so mad at her mom at this point. I mean,
I get
dissing
that.
on Maureen. But I feel like Sidney's pissed.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, that's her mom. And I'm pretty sure, like, she saw, like, her mom's, like, fucked up body and everything. And, like, that can really traumatize someone.
Ooh, I
like,
didn't even think about that she would have seen it. Because was she hanging from the tree like Sidney?
No. So, in the first one.
I can't remember what they said.
Later on, whenever we get to the studio and Sydney's there and everything, this is spoiler alert, whenever she goes into the set and everything, she goes into her old house, and she goes into that bedroom, and it's, like, set up like the death scene or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's, like, I'm pretty sure.
I forgot about that.
An exact, like, replica of how it was whenever her mom died.
That part was creepy when she kept seeing...
Oh, yeah. And so I'm pretty sure, like, she was the one that found the body, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, okay. I forgot about that.
And so her dad tries to convince her to come back home, and he's really worried about her. It's like she doesn't exist, but that's exactly what Sidney wants. She thinks that psychos can't kill what they can't find, which is so sad. It's so... you can just tell that she's just fucking traumatized,
It is.
you know?
It's so sad. I cannot blame her at all. I feel like I would do the exact same thing.
And so Sidney is now taking a nap on the couch, which, please never take a nap on the couch. Like, ugh. If there are any morbid listeners out here, you know what I'm talking about. Don't take a nap on the couch. And we get some weird ass shit happening. Her dead mom walks up outside and comes up to her window and starts talking about how everything Sidney touches dies and how she's poison. And then she slowly, like, falls beneath the window, and it's really creepy.
Terrifying.
And Sidney gets up because her fucking dead mother is outside her window. Holy shit. I know, like, if my dad was outside of my window, I would have definitely gotten up and been like, Father, are you there? It's me, Margaret. Like,
right.
But lo and behold, it's ghosty. But it actually wasn't ghosty because it's actually a nightmare. And so we go back to the studio, and the captions called this some upbeat theme music was playing. And we're here with Sarah Darling, and she goes up to the Stab 3 offices looking for Roman. And she gets a little jump scare with Tyson while he was doing a makeup test, and he says that everyone in the office has left, but she says that Roman said that their meeting was really important. She goes over to his office, and she's looking at some of his music video awards, but ends up dropping one on the floor right as the phone rings. And the little head popped off of it. It's Roman on the phone, and he says that he's running late and that he wants to talk about her character, which she complains a little bit, and he says that they're going to run some lines.
Ring, ring. Hello?
Hello?
Who's this?
Who's this?
This is Candy. Hang on, let me get some clothes.
Candy. Nice name. Is that like Candy Cane or Candy Apple?
Come on, who is this? I think you have the wrong number.
But you know what my favorite name is?
I'm hanging up right now.
It's Sarah. Dun dun dun! And so Sarah gets pissed because he has a different script, apparently. And that means that there's a possible rewrite, which actually coincides with what was really going on during production. The script apparently kept getting leaked and everything, and to stop that from happening, there were constant rewrites. I think there was something like 15 rewrites.
It was crazy.
I hate that for them so much.
Right, like in the last one, when they would have to get the script on the day of, like, I'm sure they had to do that this time.
Aaron Kruger had to do that this time too. Like, it was like day of, people were getting pages. And so Roman says that it's not just a new script, it's a new movie. And she asks, what movie? And he says,
my movie. And it's called Sarah Gets Skewered Like a Fucking Pig.
And then, like, some, like, piano music plays, and it's kind of, like, creepy because imagine you're just talking to someone, and then they switch up and say some shit like that.
Right, and you're alone in a building.
Fuck no. And so Sarah hangs up, and she runs out, but she sees someone coming into the office, and so she goes to hide in one of the costume rooms, and she hides in the ghost face costumes. And she calls the studios to, I guess, call security.
Terrifying.
Which, why didn't she just call 911? But lo and behold, security is already there, and they're checking all the offices to lock up for the day. The security leaves, and Sarah is being stalked by the real ghostie, and she sees him, and the chase is on. Sarah tries to defend herself with some prop knives.
They're literally, like, it's so creepy. You literally see Ghostface. There's a bunch of rows of Ghostface costumes, and she's hiding in one, and then you see one of them, like, peek out. Terrifying!
That shit used to always scare me whenever I was little. And so she's trying to defend herself, and it doesn't end up very well. And she ends up getting thrown through a glass window and basically stabbed to death. She did. And she was only in 2 scenes, which she was complaining about for Stab 3. That's really funny that they did that. And so Gale and Dewey meet for lunch, and we get a little insight into their relationship, and we learn that they did, in fact, get together between the second and third movie. And we also learned that Dewey wanted to stay in Woodsboro, the only place that's real, and Gale couldn't handle the small town life. She wanted to do bigger and better things in bigger cities like New York and LA, and they just ended up not working out. And we also learned that 2 months ago, the Woodsboro Police Department got a call from a woman working with Stab 3, and she wanted to see Sidney's file for research. Luckily, the officer said no, but a month later, the station was broken into and the file room was ransacked. And luckily, Dewey had already removed Sidney's file. So clearly someone's been searching for her and will go at any lengths to find her. And so Dewey ends up getting a page from Jennifer, which I have to ask, do you know what a pager is?
Yes, I actually do. And do you know why?
Why? She just pointed to the TV she has Friends on.
Listen, I love it.
I remember I'm pretty sure both of my parents had a pager, but I specifically remember my dad having a pager. Like, I never used one. I was too young for them, but like, I remember them like constantly showing up in like TV and stuff, or like car phones. Those were a big thing in movies. And so Dewey gets the page from Jennifer, and he heads over to her house, and Gale trails behind him. Which I have to mention here, Jennifer's house is so gorgeous, and you can actually rent it for like events and like film production and stuff. And I want to fucking go to that house so badly.
It's so pretty.
And so whenever they get to Jennifer's house, she's having a meltdown, and it's so stressful that she had to smoke a cigarette, something that she hasn't done in 1.5 years, and that somebody's gonna pay for that. I feel her on that 100%.
That part's hilarious.
I just love how dramatic the woman is. It's amazing. She makes this movie 1,000,000 times more watchable. They have learned of Sarah's death at the studio, and they connect the murders with the ones that were in the movie and how they're dying in the same order. But who's next, you ask? It's Gale Weathers. That's who, which is some bullshit. Like, why would they kill off Gale Weathers?
Right.
It don't make no damn sense. As Dewey walks out, Gale trails behind him, and Jennifer jumps into her bodyguard's arms, which was really funny to me. And Gale is chewing out Dewey and about her on-screen death. And we learn that Dewey has been staying on Jennifer's property in a cute little Airstream RV because it makes her feel safe. And we get a great line from Dewey. He says,
"If you weren't so concerned with pretensions and appearances, you'd be able to appreciate the positivity and emotional centeredness I provide a woman."
Gale has been roasted, and she obviously took Dewey for granted. And so, Dewey, be on your bullshit. I'm here for it.
I love it.
I'm so here for it. And so back at the crime scene, the detectives find another photo of young Marine, and we get some references to other horror/thriller movies where the killers play with the cops. One of them is Silence of the Lambs, the other is Seven, which we're gonna have to watch Seven. That's one of my favorite, dramatic thriller cop movies. And Detective Mark's partner is being a total douche canoe to Gale whenever she comes up to get info about the murder. And Dewey is also there, and he suggests an increased police presence around Jennifer since she is the next one to die in the script. However, Detective Mark says that that she has a bodyguard, but there's also 3 different scripts. And so 3 different people die next, and we don't know what script the killer read. Big yikes. And so at the studio, Dewey, Roman, and Jennifer are talking a little bit, and Roman is complaining yet again about how the production is being shut down and how he is fucked. He talks about how Jennifer can always go back to must-see TV, but he's about to turn 30, he has no movie, and he thinks he's going to be the next to die. Why, you ask? Because of the award that Sarah dropped and the head came off. He's taken that as a sign of he's next to die. And suddenly, the detectives show up and confront Roman about calling Sarah for a meeting the day that she died. He denies it and ends up getting escorted down to the station to be further questioned. And before Detective Mark leaves, he borrows Dewey's cell phone. Remember that. We're finally back with Sidney, and she gets an incoming call from the crisis center, and it's a woman who insists that she just killed someone. And Sidney tells her that she needs to call the police before realizing that the person on the phone sounds a lot like her mother. But then she realizes that the line is set to home, not office.
Terrifying.
So this person literally has her phone number. And she has been living basically off the fucking grid in the middle of nowhere. How the fuck did somebody get her number? The person tells her to turn on the news, and it's about the murders and about how Stab 3 has been shut down, and the voice switches to the killer's voice and asks Sidney if she thinks that it's over, and she hangs up and pulls out a gun. Hell motherfucking yeah.
Yes, Sidney.
And she walks around making sure that her shit is secured. Smart. Very smart woman. And so we're back at Jennifer's house, and they're having what they call a wrap party, which consists of Angelina looking like a scared little doe, and Jennifer smoking cigarettes, and Tom being a drunk asshole. Dewey and Jennifer go chat in private, and Gale pulls up and creeps around the back to eavesdrop on Dewey and Jennifer's conversation, and the bodyguard ends up catching her and brings her back inside. Dewey takes Gale to talk, and she tells him that Roman was released because the call was actually from a cloned cell phone. And she pulls out the picture of young Marine, and she says that she couldn't find anything about her in her young adult years. She says that she left Woodsboro for a bit before meeting Sidney's father, and that it's she just completely vanished off the face of the earth. And Dewey then sees it in the picture. He sees the background of the picture, and it's actually the backlot of Sunrise Studios. Dun dun dun.
It's crazy.
Meanwhile, the bodyguard is snooping around Dewey's trailer like a snoopy ass dickhead, and he gets a call from Dewey, and the bodyguard says some straight up out of pocket shit about Tatum dying, and the killer pops out and stabs the bodyguard in the back and then bashes his head in 3 times with a cast iron skillet. Damn. Back in the house, everyone meets up in the living room, and the front door opens, and the bodyguard walks up and collapses. That motherfucker dead.
That's terrifying.
That is! You're just in this house, the door just opens up by itself, and then all of a sudden, a bodyguard comes up, stabbed to death, and he just collapses. Fuck that. And so they lock up the house, but then the lights go out, so everyone goes out to the backyard. But then the fax machine has an incoming fax, so they go back inside, and it's script pages, but it's what's currently occurring. And so they all go back outside except for Tom. Tom stays inside, and he wants to see what the last page says. He grabs a lighter so he's able to see what it says because it is dark inside. And the last page says, and the killer will give mercy to whoever smells the gas. And boom, the whole motherfucking house blows up with Tom inside of it. And so Gale, Dewey, Jennifer, and Angelina jump off the deck and onto the hill down below. Dewey spots Gale first, and the killer pops out to try to attack Gale, but Dewey gets one shot on him before he falls down the hill like a clumsy person. The killer disappeared, and there's some undeniable sexual tension between Gale and Dewey until Jennifer comes up to ruin the moment and punches Dewey in the face. Gale then punches Jennifer in the face, and she says,
"My lawyer liked that."
But then Angelina's lanky ass comes out of the brush, like all the way the fuck off from everybody else.
I was mad suspicious of her.
And she was looking sus as hell. But then Dewey finds another picture of Maureen with the words, "I killed her" on the back. Which you just said that Angelina was really suspicious. And one of the scripts, she was actually supposed to be the killer. That's why she looks so fucking suspicious. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You're like, damn, I was kind of right in a way.
Damn.
And so back at the police station, Detective Mark is hounding Dewey about talking to Sidney, and Dewey refuses. And Detective Mark and Dewey are basically having a whose dick is bigger contest when Gale interrupts and reminds them that the real issue is Maureen, but Detective Mark thinks that the real issue is Sidney. And so Dewey leaves to call Sidney, but as he's leaving a voicemail, literally 50 minutes into the movie, Sidney is reunited with the rest of the group. And we also see that Sidney is still wearing Derek's Greek letters around her neck.
Oh.
I'm just gonna sit over here and cry real quick. It's so cute. And so Sidney goes to Detective Mark's office and gives a very awkward yet warm hi and hug to Gale. And she gets introduced to Mark, and they exchange a little look, if you know what I mean.
A little
look. And so Dewey tells Mark that the killer called Sidney and that they're trying to figure out the way that the killer could have gotten her number. One way is that her number is in Dewey's phone, so someone who recently borrowed it maybe took it then, and the only person that borrowed his phone are Jennifer and Mark. Mark reminds everyone that he is the po-po, don't worry about him. And Sidney sees the pictures of her mom that are like all up on the wall and shit. And she questions why Dewey didn't tell her. But then Sidney says that she wants to go over to the studio to see where these pictures were taken. At the studio, Detective Mark is dropping off his partner to watch Sidney, and the partner makes a sly comment that Mark is going to get Sidney some flowers and candy. Wink, wink, motherfucking wink.
Uh-huh.
I ship them so hard.
I do too. They were so cute.
I ship them. They're just the cutest thing ever.
Way better than Derek. I mean, R.I.P. Derek, but...
R.I.P. to my boy Derek. Sidney, Gale, and Dewey are walking around and get jump scared by Martha Meeks, who is Randy's sister, and she says that there's something that they need to see. And it's a videotape of Randy, and he made it right before he was murdered, and he gives us the rules to the trilogy, which include, number 1, you've got a killer that's superhuman. Stabbing him won't work. Shooting him won't work. Basically, you've got to cryogenically freeze his head, decapitate him, or blow him up. Number 2, anyone, including the main character, can die. It's the final chapter, and it could be fucking Reservoir Dogs by the time this thing is over. Have you seen Reservoir Dogs?
No.
That's added to the list for the subscriptions.
Right.
It's Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
If that tells you anything. Lots of blood. We'll just say that. And so number 3, the past will come back and bite you in the ass. Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it. The past is not at rest. Any sins you think were committed in the past are about to break out and destroy you. And so after the video, Gale ends up leaving the group, and she goes to the archives building, but she can't seem to get in. Then we get a jump scare, and it's actually Jennifer. Jennifer figures that if someone's after Gale, that means that someone's after her, so it's better to stick together because if the killer wants the real Gale, and because the killer wants the real Gale and not her, so if the killer pops up, they'll get Gale and not Jennifer. if that makes any sense. Jennifer then helps Gale get into the building because she works at the studio, duh. And they go downstairs, and they hear a woman who is hacking up a lung back there. And guess what? It's Carrie motherfucking Fisher. But not really. It's Bianca Burnett. And it's a great cameo. Carrie Fisher makes fun of herself, and I just absolutely love her so much. And the girlies try to talk Bianca into giving them information about Maureen, and she's not budging. Gale offers her $50, but Jennifer offers a ring worth $2,000, and Bianca's like, you know what? I'm gonna take this bribe. And so we learned that Maureen went by a stage name Rena Reynolds, and that she was in a few of John Milton's movies back in the day. John Milton is the one producing the Stab movies. Dun 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 dun. Back at the back lot, Sidney is in the bathroom, and Dewey is waiting outside. Sidney hears a noise, and it's very reminiscent of the first movie when she was attacked in the bathroom, but this time Sidney is prepared with some pepper spray, and she busts the stall door open, but it's Angelina. Angelina goes total fangirl since she was supposed to play Sidney in the movie. And she also has a ghost face costume with her, but she tells Sidney that if there isn't going to be a movie, why not take some souvenirs? Which, I understand.
But not that one.
But not that one, homegirl. Angelina scurries off, but she forgets her brush, and so Sidney follows after her. But Sidney ends up wandering onto the set of the movie, and it's a total blast from the past in the worst way possible for her. It's literally Woodsboro. And Sidney goes to her quote-unquote old house into her quote-unquote old bedroom, and we hear audio flashbacks of her and Billy's conversation from the first movie. And then she hears something in the distance. The door slams behind her, so she barricades it like how she used to with the closet door and everything, and she backs up towards the window, but then, dun dun dun, Ghosty pops up behind her, and they fall to the ground, and Sidney lands one punch to him and runs away. She locks the door to her quote-unquote house, but the killer pops out from the closet, which is reminiscent of the first movie.
Yep.
I'm so here for it. And so she gets chased up the stairs, but where her quote-unquote bedroom was, it's just like open to the ground floor. Like they're on the second floor, but there's literally like nothing there. It's a door to nowhere, basically. And the killer catches up, and as he opens up the door, Sidney was smart as hell and like climbed onto like the side of the set and like pushes him down onto the bed on like in the room down below. And Sidney's upstairs crying for Dewey, but then she hears her mom's voice coming from one of the bedrooms. It's set up like the death scene, and she obviously has some like trauma response. Like, it's absolutely crazy for her. Dewey yells from outside, but as Sidney looks behind her, the dead body on the floor starts approaching her. Which is some scary ass shit. And she ends up falling out to the window and onto the AstroTurf below. Dewey runs up, and she says that the killer was inside, and she freaks out about her mother and the room as a whole. And Dewey says that she wasn't supposed to go in there and that it was set up like the death scene. And Detective Mark, Tyson, and Angelina show up from the shadows concerned for Sidney. Afterwards, Angelina and Tyson are being questioned about what happened. And Angelina's explaining that she took the mask, but then she says that she stole it. So the cop is like, so did you take it or did you steal it? And the cop looks over at Tyson, and Tyson says,
"Don't look at me, I didn't take shit."
I feel him on that.
Right, he's like, don't put me in this
Don't
shit.
put me in this. I didn't steal nothing. I didn't take nothing. I am just a friend. And so Sidney is talking to Dewey and Detective Mark, and she's insisting that she saw the killer there. And Detective Mark says that he is going to take her back to the station to keep her under watch, and that they'll do anything to keep her safe, including putting her in a safe house. Just literally anything. And Gale and Jennifer approach Dewey, and they reveal the secret about Sidney's mom and how Milton put her in some of his movies. At Milton's office, Roman is complaining again to Milton about how he doesn't have a film and that his cast is dead and nobody will want to work with him. Dewey, Gale, and Jennifer bust in and question about Rena Reynolds. And it's also revealed that it's Roman's birthday and that there will be a party for him at Milton's mansion. Roman leaves and they continue questioning, and Milton plays straight dumb, but then whenever Dewey threatens him with the police, his memory comes back. And basically it's revealed that he is a Harvey Weinstein type character, if you catch my drift, and that he used to have these quote-unquote parties at his mansion, and Maureen may or may not have attended said quote-unquote parties, and things may or may not have happened to her at these said quote-unquote parties. So yeah, it's some nasty and messed up shit, and it's like, the fact that the Weinstein brothers approved this, because they ran Dimension Films.
Yeah.
Like, they were the executive producers on this movie. Like, I don't understand why they allowed that to happen, but okay. Back at the station, Detective Mark and Sidney flirt a little bit about movies and the case, and there's obvious hints of some chemistry between them. I love the idea of Mark and Sidney being together. It's just the cutest thing ever. And before he leaves to search the set, Sidney stops him and asks what his favorite scary movie is, and he says, My Life, and they look deeply into each other's eyes for just a moment. And you can see that Sidney knows that he knows drama and heartbreak. He knows trauma and heartbreak and can just understand her. Or at least that's what I got from that little 5-second clip.
That's exactly what she said in that look, because they were meant to be.
Yes, absolutely. And so in the car, Gale, Dewey, and Jennifer are heading back to the station to tell Sidney and Mark about what happened with Milton. And they get a call from Sidney. And she says that Milton called her and said that he had something to tell her about her mom and to come to the mansion. Dewey says that's not a good idea, and Sidney insists on going and hangs up, which is really weird. And so the trio is now heading to Milton's house. At Milton's, which, you don't know this, it is the same house used as the school in Halloween H2O, if you didn't already know that. I'm so fucking pumped for you to watch H2O, bro.
I'm so excited.
I love that movie as much as I love this movie. Like, it's one that gets a lot of hate, just like this one gets a lot of hate, but I absolutely love it. And I think part of it is because it was written by Kevin Williamson, but anywho. Roman, Angelina, and Tyson are there, and Roman mentions that there's a secret screening room and that they should all split up to find it. Roman and Jennifer go together, and Tyson and Angelina go together, and as Roman leaves, he yells, "We'll be right back." This motherfucker.
We know how that goes.
And Dewey and Gale stay behind. Roman's drunk ass wanders into the basement, and Jennifer stays at the landing, and Tyson and Angelina are walking upstairs, and Roman continues to look around the basement, and Jennifer keeps yelling for him, but all of a sudden, he's no longer answering. And so back with Dewey and Gale, Gale asks Dewey to basically star 69 the number that just called him, and whenever he does that, we hear a ringing in the closet. It's literally all of the killer shit in there. The costume, the cell phone, the voice changer. And the voice changer is also programmed with a bunch of different voices. Okay. And so they split up to find everyone. Dewey finds Tyson with no sign of Angelina. And Tyson said that she ran into a room. And whenever he ran after her, she fucking disappeared. And so Gale finds the basement and makes her way down there. And she finds a prop casket. And she sees an arm kind of sticking out said prop casket. And she opens it up, and it's Roman's dead fucking body. She checks his fucking pulse. And Jennifer pops out and yells, "Is he dead?" And Gale says, "Yes, very." And so they run out screaming. Y'all, please remember that. She checked his pulse. And so they run into Angelina. And she says that she found a secret passageway. And they tell her that Roman is dead, and she tries to run off. Gale says that she isn't safe and just to listen to her for a minute. And Angelina stops dead in her tracks and yells, "She did not fuck that pig Milton just to die here with second-rate celebrities like them." And she runs off and tells them that they should get out of here, but then get stibbity stabbed and got. And Gale and Jennifer run towards her screams, but they see her body get dragged away. And so they scream and run off to find Dewey. And so the killer actually runs into Dewey and gets one punch on him. And so they all run into the bedroom that Tyson was in at one point. And Dewey gets one slash in the arm. Tyson gets stabbed in the gut. Dewey gets a kick to the face. And then Tyson just runs off, but the killer follows after him. He's yelling, "Help! Police! Help!" But ends up getting the rug ripped from under him, literally, and then thrown off the balcony to his death. While all of this was happening, Jennifer found a secret passageway and has been trying to escape. And she runs down some stairs, but like, damn, the killer ended up finding that secret passageway and is about to get her. And she runs back up the stairs into this weird ass two-way mirror room that's behind the mirror in the room that Gale and Dewey are in. She's screaming, trying to get their attention. I hate this part so much.
I hate it.
She's trying to get their attention. And as the killer is inching closer, she's like, "You can't kill me. I'm the killer in Stab 3. So we all learn that she's the killer in Stab 3. And Dewey starts to shoot at the glass panes one by one, starting from the far end from where Jennifer is. But then by the time he makes it down her way, she has been stabbed to death. R.I.P. to the realest
Not
one.
Jennifer.
Justice for Jennifer. Even though I have seen so many conspiracy theories of people trying to say that she definitely survived. She was only stabbed a couple times. Like,
I think she survived.
I'm gonna say it. Jennifer survived. She pulled a Stumacher. No. I don't want to reveal anything from Scream 4 because
Don't do it.
If you've seen Scream 4 and you've also seen Scream 6, she's gonna pull a you-know-who, you know?
I'm tuning out.
And so Gale and Dewey end up trying to find Tyson, but suddenly Gale gets fucking grabbed from behind and they stumble around a little bit, but both Gale and the killer fall down the basement stairs and the killer is passed out cold. Gale's smart idea is to call Dewey for help, and she tries to tell him that she's downstairs in the basement and that she needs help, but Dewey is like, "This could totally be the killer." And he opens up the basement door, and as he's doing that, the killer wakes up and Gale starts screaming, and so Dewey tries to shoot at the fucking killer, but he's out of bullets, and so the killer throws their knife at Dewey and knocks him out cold with the butt of the knife.
Dewey got lucky.
And so this part also kind of pisses me off. Whenever Dewey falls down the stairs, Gale just like crawls up to him and basically just surrenders to the killer. And so Gale and Dewey have been captured. Back at the station, Sidney gets this weird phone call, which it turns out to be the killer. And basically, they get her to make the decision to come to the mansion, but Sidney arms herself before anything, and she she eyes a bulletproof vest. Sidney arrives to the mansion, and the killer calls her and tells her to use the metal detector that's on the ground to see if she has any weapons, and she has one gun in her pants leg, and they have her throw it into the pool, and she enters into the mansion. She spots Gale and Dewey and runs up to help them, but then the killer pops out to attack her, and Sidney pops up and shoots the killer 5 times. She literally had another hidden gun in her pant leg.
Her, Sidney.
So fucking smart. And she starts to
She's done this before, and you can tell.
Oh, for sure.
And I love it.
So she starts to untie Gale and Dewey, and the killer has already just gotten up and left. And then Detective fucking Mark pops out, and she's like, "Why are you here?" And he says that he was looking for her because Tyson said that there was going to be a party there, and he figured, it'll be a third act celebration. He should go check it out. And they both have each other at gunpoint, but he withdraws first and says that he is just there to help. Sidney puts down her gun, but then Ghosty pops out of a hidden door behind her, and holy fucking shit, literally Mark pushes her out of the way and gets stabbed for her. And Sidney's like momentarily knocked out. Mark puts up this really good fight with Ghosty because
Mark!
He's trained at this shit. But he ends up getting knocked out by his head getting hit by a fireplace mantle. Who put that fireplace mantle there? It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Like, damn.
I like Professor
Mark. I like Detective Mark with his fine ass. Sidney wakes up and gets one shot off at Ghosty, but runs out of bullets, and the chase begins. She's able to lock herself into a different room and finds a hidden door via the bookshelf, like, you know, every rich fucking person has. And she gets it open, but it turns out it's the door to the secret screening room that Roman was talking about. And there's a movie playing, and it's one about Sidney's mom. And she hears her mom's voice telling her to come and watch the movie and how everybody loved her. But then someone covered in the same bloody sheet from the set comes out, and it turns out that it's the killer. And the sheet comes off, and Sidney tries to escape, but she can't. And the killer says that it's time that she came to terms with them and with Mother, and that maybe she didn't know her mother at all, and that she can't get past the surface of things. They say that they're the other half of her. Then we discover that Maureen is their mother. And then they are.
Roman Bridger, director.
Crazy.
Crazy. I would have never expected it to be Roman.
He was last on my list.
I never suspected him at all. I felt like he just wasn't in the movie a lot to be suspected.
Like I didn't pay a lot of attention to him.
He just seemed like a whiny little bitch, but also that's why he's my favorite killer. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that, but I don't care. The fact that this man was so under the radar for everybody,
Right.
and also the fact that he did all of this by himself, like, come on. You can't get any better than that. And so he then talks about how he just wants to get back at Sidney for having the life that he didn't have. Meanwhile, Dewey gets himself untied and he unties Gale, and they check on Mark. Mark is still alive, thank goodness. And he gives them a gun and is like, go get that bastard. And so back in the screening room, Sidney says, you have what you want, hero and villain face to face, but now the villain dies. But Roman has different plans. He says that Sidney's the villain, and he brings out Milton's old ass all tied up, and he says that he's going to frame it all on her, that she found out that Milton took advantage of her mom, so she wanted to make him pay. And he has that all on recording via the voice changer. And Milton begs for his life, but he gets wasted.
Can we talk
via
about
knife slash.
How thoroughly Roman planned everything out?
Oh, yeah.
Even the cover-up? Like,
Oh, yeah. He was thorough.
he's definitely my favorite killer, too. Well, I really love Billy and Stu just because they're so stupid and funny. But, like, he knows what he's doing.
Yes. He was, and the thing about it, he planned it all. He was the one that orchestrated Billy and Stu. Like, come on now. And so, as Roman berates Sidney, she's over his shit, and she says that she has heard it all before, and the only reason he kills people is because he chooses to, and there's nobody else to blame. And this makes Roman snap, and he lunges at Sidney, and a fight ensues. Sidney holds her own for the most part until she gets a kick to the face twice and choked the fuck out. But as she's being choked out, Dewey knocks out the lights by shoving tweezers into a light socket.
Yes, Dewey.
Very smart of him. I don't understand what that was supposed to do, but okay. There's a knock at the door, and Roman drops Sidney, and it's Mark, our boy Detective Mark.
I love him so much.
him. He is such a strong man. And that's why he's so sexy, just so strong. He's like, I ain't dying today. And he is there to save the day. But as soon as he walks in, he gets knocked the fuck out. Sidney ends up finding Roman's knife, but Roman found Mark's gun and pumps 2 rounds into Sidney. And assuming that she's dead, he locks the door that Mark came in from. And
That shocked me so much. Like, I was not expecting Sidney to get shot.
oh yeah. But as he turns around, Sidney is gone. He starts trying to look for her, but Sydney's already thinking, like, she's just like, I already know what I need to do.
I love this part because I love her so much for this.
She grabs an ice pick from the bar, and Dewey and Gale make it into the room that Mark was in, like, whenever he opened up the door. So they're, like, 1 door away from the secret screening room. And so Sydney's like, I'm gonna star 69 this motherfucker. And Roman's phone starts to ring. Sidney gets him from behind and stabs him with the ice pick twice in the back. Big ouch. And he falls to the floor. And he says that he shot her. But she also had on a bulletproof vest. And she's like, I guess we think alike. As Roman is dying, he says that their mother's dead and that there's nothing that she can do about that. And that he's still got to make his movie. Sidney says, stab 3 right. And stabs him for the 3rd time in the heart.
I
Good.
love that.
Gale and Dewey bust in. Gale checks on Mark. He is still alive. Even still. And they're like, it was Roman? Yes, it was Roman. We all are aware of this now. As he lays there dying, Sidney holds his hand because, you know, they are siblings after all. And Sidney gets up to leave, and Dewey says to be careful that Randy said that the killer's always superhuman. Sidney says, psh, that motherfucker wasn't superhuman. But then he pops back up screaming, trying to attack, and Dewey's trying to shoot him. I'm pretty sure he gets off 11 or 12 shots, which makes no sense whatsoever. But this motherfucker won't go down. Sidney says, shoot him in the fucking head. And Dewey does, and Roman is wasted.
Finally.
Fatality. And so later on, we're back at Sidney's fortress, and she has made the decision to leave her gates open and not be locked up. Great. But, you know, there are still crazies out there, and...
Right, I'd still be locking my gates.
Yeah, but keep your shit open. Yeah, do that. Gale and Dewey are there, and as Sidney is walking up, Dewey asks Gale to sign the copy of his copy of the Woodsboro Murders. She opens the book, and there's a ring in the middle, and Dewey asks her to marry him, and she accepts. And it's just so fucking cute because the fact that they were literally married a month before production started. Like, that's so cute.
It's adorable. They literally had to cut their honeymoon short for the movie. That's crazy to me.
And that's why they were so tan in this movie, because they were just on their honeymoon, literally. You can
love
tell that
it.
they a little sun-kissed. And so Sidney walks up, and she doesn't set her alarm or lock her door. You know, final girl things.
That's how she celebrates surviving everything, is making herself more...
susceptible to crazy people coming
Yes.
into her house. And so then our boy Detective Mark pops out and says that they're waiting for her, that they're gonna watch a movie, and her door fucking opens. The front door just opens, and she leaves it wide the fuck open. Why? Sidney,
You've been doing good all this time.
this whole movie you were doing so well, being so smart, but damn. And then we get the credits, and Red Right Hand is playing on the credits. And if this was the VHS, you would fast forward through the credits and get that What If music video by Creed. You're welcome. And that's the end of Scream 3.
So good.
Dude.
I forget how much I loved that one.
I love this movie so much. And even though it took me a long ass time to write these notes and watch this movie, I enjoy it even more each time I watch it. Like,
It's so good.
it's such a good time. And thank you guys so much for listening to yet another episode of The Morgue. We're still going to be doing our giveaway up until September 12th. So go to those posts. They are on our Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget, we're having our subscriptions coming soon. Whenever we announce those, it'll be on one of these episodes and on our social media platforms.
Again, we're going to have some really great stuff on there, so don't miss out.
Yes, and if you listen to our episodes constantly, you're going to be hearing us mention things that are being added to the list. And lastly, guys, next week, Scream 4. And
Yes!
No excitement.
I'm excited, but that's because I haven't watched it yet, so I don't feel this impending doom that you feel.
I'm just not excited about watching a movie that looks like it had Vaseline just smeared all over the lens.
Okay, but when I watch Scream 4, that means I'm closer to watching Scream 5 with Jenna Ortega.
True.
So I'm excited
I
for that.
can say I do love the 5th and 6th movie, and I know that there's going to be a 7th movie. It's going to star the core 4 again, and I think that makes a very great trilogy, even just like on its own. But then there's the 4th one.
Wait, am I stupid? Core 4?
You'll understand it. You'll understand it once you see the 6th one.
Because I'm just thinking Sidney, Gale, Dewey.
You'll see in the 6th one.
No.
It's coming. It's coming.
Somebody comes back?
You'll have to see.
Oh my God!
You'll just have to see. But yeah, and then there's Scream 4, which is like the black sheep of all of them, and it's just and the killers are they're just so pathetic, and it's already been done before, and just shut the fuck up.
I feel like I know who comes back.
I'm not saying anything. I'm letting you think whatever you want to think, and then you're going to watch the movie and you're going to be very fucking disappointed. That's all I can say.
Really?
I don't like it. I can say Scream 4 is the one Scream movie, like the first Scream movie that I ever saw in theaters. So I did love it for a long time. But comparing it to the first 3 and then the 5th and 6th one, it's like it can't compare.
I'm saying I'm going to be disappointed by who comes back.
I'm not telling you anything.
Because I think I know who it is.
I'm not saying shit. You gotta tell me who you think it is.
I think it's Randy.
I ain't telling you shit.
I'm going to be confident in my decision.
Okay.
Randy comes back in Scream 6. Spoiler alert.
It's Scream 4. Scream. Well, it's kind of in Scream 5 and Scream 6. I'll put it to you that way. The name Core 4 is in the 6th one, but the Core 4 is also in the 5th one. They're just not called the Core 4. So.
Well, he was original and he was in the second movie, and they were gonna bring him back for the third, so I feel like Randy is the one who comes back.
I ain't telling you shit. I'll let you watch the movies.
It's either Randy or it's Kenny. Otherwise, I'm suing. I want Kenny back.
I love Kenny.
AKA,
Kenny, get your fat ass over here.
AKA Jesus.
My name ain't Jesus.
I love Kenny boy.
All right, guys, y'all have a good rest of your day, night, evening, whatever the hell. And we will see you next week. Bye.